Retired banker Mr. Bhavesh Pant had the habit of going out for morning walk, then going to the bazaar, and then roaming in the nearby park whenever he wished. But the news of the lockdown due to coronavirus outbreak broke his heart. It was just these small outings that gave a little joy to him. Especially little children and old people are to stay at home and should not come out for any reason, declared the news reporter as if he was addressing his words only to Mr. Pant. He looked up at his maiden, middle-aged daughter helplessly and said persuadingly, "But I'm not that old, isn't it, Ritu?" Rita glowered at Mr. Pant and said sarcastically, "Yes, of course, you're even younger than me." Mr. Pant laughed nervously and was about to say something, but Rita spoke before he could. "You're not going out anywhere, or else the policemen will make you hold your ears and do 100 sit-ups." Then Rita went away to complete all the house chores. As his daughter was unmarried, Mr. Pant did not have any grandchildren. He did not have any pet either, and except Rita and Mr. Pant, no one else lived in the house. Rita used to be busy the whole time with either the household tasks or her freelance job. Neither of his relatives were alive, though their children were alive, but he did not have any contact with them. The poor old man started feeling trapped in the house within just a week. With eyes full of tears, he sat on the easy chair next to the window in the living room. Suddenly, a voice struck him. "Hello, Bhavesh. How are you? Why are your eyes glistening?" On lifting his head up, Mr. Pant saw an old man of his age standing near the window of his house, which was adjacent to Mr. Pant's house. Confused Mr. Pant scratched his bald head and asked, "But I did not recognize you." The gentleman laughed loudly and said, "That's very natural. Firstly, we did not meet very often with each other. And secondly, you are aging faster than me." Then he again continues his loud laughter. "Anyways, I am your neighbor, Dr. Trilochan Gupta. Well, though I am old enough to quit work, but still, I practice as a MD. I hope you are already retired from your job as a banker, isn't it?" Mr. Pant felt very guilty as Dr. Gupta remembered so much about him, and he even failed to recognize him. After a moment of silence, Mr. Pant said, "Yes, I retired. And as a result, this lockdown is going to be very boring for me. Because neither I have any grandchildren, nor any pet, not even my daughter has some spare time for me." Dr. Gupta smiled and said, "Well, as you may understand, I'm a busy man. But I promise that my other family members will surely find some spare time for you and talk to you. I swear they are very funny to spend time with." And the vibration of an incoming call from his phone interrupted Dr. Gupta. He attended the call. "Hello? Yes? Okay, sir. I will surely do everything that is possible." Dr. Gupta kept the phone aside and got up. "I have to leave for an urgent work. I don't know when I will be back, but I can assure that my family members won't let you feel bored. Stay safe." Dr. Gupta shut the window thereafter. Mr. Pant, too, closed the window and thought about Dr. Gupta. How can he forget such a well-behaved man within these years? From the next day, Mr. Pant always got the company of Gupta family. Dr. Gupta's son would very often come to the window which was facing Mr. Pant's bedroom window and chat with him about various topics, light to serious. Dr. Gupta's grandchildren would come to the terrace and call for Mr. Pant for playing many kinds of verbal games such as dumb charades and antakshari. Sometimes, even the whole family would sit together on the terrace and exchange beautiful stories, poetries, jokes, and good old memory chunks. Mr. Pant even used to forget about his meals, which Rita had to make him recall. But she felt very happy that her father was actually able to get engaged in something instead of nagging the whole day. But good things never last too long. As bound by this new habit, Mr. Pant sat by the window of his living room. Hours went by, but no one came. He thought that maybe they all were waiting on the terrace to surprise him. They often did so. But on going on the terrace, he still found no one. He peeped through every window in his house, which directed towards Dr. Gupta's house, but found no one. Mr. Pant got panicked and came downstairs to sit on the easy chair beside the window in the living room. All these questions crowded his mind up. Why is their house so silent? Where could they possibly go during this lockdown? Did something happen to them? Are the kids sick? At the meantime, Rita came in the house with a grocery bag full of vegetables and other essential commodities. After keeping the bag, opening her mask and washing her hands with soap, she said, "Papa, got a very disheartening news. Do you know Dr. Gupta is no more?" Mr. Pant lost control on his leg and sat down on the easy chair. He looked at Rita with blank eyes and a question slipped out of his mouth unknowingly. "How?" Rita continued sadly. Dr. Gupta was also treating corona-infected people, just like his fellow doctor friends. He treated so many of such patients that he himself was heavily infected. As we know that this virus affects old people and little children the most and could be fatal as well, as immunity in these two kinds of people is very weak. So that is why Dr. Gupta could not survive. Mr. Pant asked Rita, getting choked by bursts of tears every time he tried to speak. What about his family members? Where are they now? Rita looked out of the window and said, "A rumor was being spread that Dr. Gupta came to meet his family secretly after he was tested positive to bid a final goodbye. As a result, all of them were forced to go for quarantine. I don't know when they will come back." Rita hung her head down and walked towards the kitchen. That whole day, Mr. Pant did not speak a single word. At night, when Mr. Pant lied down on his bed, he heard someone calling him from the window. He identified the voice immediately and strode across the room to reach the window. It was Dr. Trilochan Gupta, standing at the window of his house. "I'm sorry, Bhavesh. I failed to keep my promise. Please forgive me." He hung his head down. Mr. Pant used to get easily scared by any paranormal entity very easily. But this time, he did not. Mr. Pant smiled and said, "You did not fail any of your promises, Trilochan. Neither your Hippocratic oath, nor this one." With a gentle smile drawn on his face, Dr. Gupta closed his eyes and faded away. Suddenly, Mr. Pant fell down on the floor and hit his head very hard. On gaining consciousness, he realized that his meeting with Dr. Gupta and him fading away was just a dream and that he actually fell down from his bed. He got up and sat on his bed again, and at the same time, Rita came in with a cup of tea. "Papa, after this incident with Dr. Gupta, I thought you will feel very lonely and sad at home. So, you may go for morning walks only. But make sure you do not go too far, wear mask and keep a sanitizer in your pocket and do not stay out for too long." Mr. Pant took the cup from Rita's hand and said, "No, Ritu, I won't go. I will advance my helping hand towards the Corona warriors by staying at home. It's my promise to them."